Sylvia, thank you so much for letting me steal some of your time. I greatly appreciate it. And I know you've earned a lot of different awards and achievements over your career, but being honored for the 2020 SEC Legends and now on Rich Take on Sports podcast, I mean, sky's the limit for you, right?
You know it. Thank you.
Oh, no, I greatly appreciate it. But in all reality, a Legends Award like this, that's a legacy type of award for your career. How does that make you feel, getting recognized like that?
It's very humbling, for one. But at the end of the day, it kind of makes me feel old. And I think because I'm still now currently into the basketball world, so to be considered as a legend, it's kind of like far beyond past these years right now. But I am totally blessed to be named a legend.
A legend, yeah. Probably something you never really thought about. It was never on your radar.
No.
That was not a goal,
I mean,
right?
I think a lot of things sports-oriented wasn't on my goal. I think coming into this thing, my mindset was just be the best that I can be and go out there and accomplish as much as I can accomplish. But the list goes on, and I am grateful and I'm truly blessed, I must say.
Well, I think it's interesting, too, that you and Candace Parker at the same time, just how things come full circle in terms of, I mean, talking about competitors, you guys have been going at it, it seems like
Forever.
for a long time.
We actually been going at it since like AAU days. I remember us having some good competitions in AAU. And it's funny that you say how me and Candace are here, because they've been trying to get me to do this legacy thing for like the last 5 years. And I've been reneging on them. I've been reneging on them for like the last 5 years, because overseas jobs come up and then opportunities present itself. And I'm just like, oh, I'm so sorry I can't be there. But this year I was very determined to be here. I was dedicated.
You were going to make it.
And I'm here, and I'm happy to do it with Candace, because we started this thing together, and hopefully we end it together.
And that's what I think. I mean, God had a pathway for you and Candace to come together at the same time. And so, speaking of pathway, of far as now where you are, let's rewind and go back to the early days, growing up in the Fowles family, and just how sports became important to you. What were some of your first earliest memories?
So growing up, I'm from a sports family. I'm the youngest of 5, so we all play sports year round in the house. Basketball was never my go-to sport. I did not enjoy it. I did not like it at first.
That wasn't your first love?
It was not my first love. Volleyball was my first love. I tried to follow in the footsteps of my sister and run track, because my mother ran track in their early ages, but it just wasn't my thing. After getting hounded for 2 years in middle school by the coach, I finally decided to give basketball a chance and go out and
why was he hounding you?
Because I was taller than everybody, and he probably seen something in me that I didn't see in myself at that point. But I went out and tried it and just fell in love with it. I was very raw at that point. I was not good at all.
So it didn't come natural?
No, it did not come natural at all. It took a lot of work, but I'm here today, so I'm very happy and grateful at where I am in life.
Yeah, and so when you look back, you say you weren't that confident. Why not confident on the basketball court when you first started?
Because it wasn't my go-to sport, for one. And then I was looking to try to please people. I wasn't doing it for the fun of making Syl happy. It was like, make sure you make mom proud. Or you have to make brothers look good because they've been beating you up all these years on the basketball court and things like that. And so once I put things into perspective of liking it because this is something that I want to do, that made things a whole lot easier. But I was always a shy kid as well, too. So it took a while for me to break out my shell.
Shy kid. Why were you shy?
More so of just trying to figure out and get a feel of how people felt about me, or how would they view me or look at me in certain situations. But once I got past that phase, it was just be yourself.
And are you still that way today?
In certain situations. Shy? In certain situations. I won't say shy. I say I'm very observant and I sit back and I'll watch, but shy, definitely not.
Are you a little closed off though at times?
I can be.
Or protective of letting emotions out?
Letting emotions out, no.
Okay. Well, I know I've seen on the court, yes. That is for certain.
Letting emotions out? No.
I'm saying more, just in relationships. Are you protective? Trust issues?
I don't have trust issues anymore, but I can say that I do observe before I let people in, should I say. I won't try to put it in the trust category because that's a whole nother topic thing, but I am very I guess you could say protective of who I let in my circle and who I let affect my feelings and my emotions, yes.
How has sports then helped you have to deal with some of that? Because obviously, I mean, sports, it puts you in a spotlight.
Right.
I mean, both positive and negative.
Right.
And, having to, worry about pleasing other people or not pleasing other people, because we know in life you can't please everybody.
No, you can't. I think it's all about balance and making sure you balance every category. So I try to put things into like a coach's player perspective, fans, family, friends, and then you have an outside box where you just have people just willing to just throw daggers at you all the time.
That's the social media whack jobs, right?
Yeah, those people you can never please. And I think once you find a happy balance of how can I be given of all categories without giving a hoot nanny about what they feel, I think that's when life gets much, much easier for you.
Yeah, and are you at that point now? Have you come to that realization?
Most definitely. It took a while, but it's a hard situation to let go, especially when you're very pleasing to everybody. It's kind of hard to be in that situation, but yes, I'm definitely at the point where I'm just like, your thoughts don't matter.
When did that happen for you?
Sadly, I probably want to say this transition happened for me probably like my first couple of years in the league. So that's a lot to deal with, a lot to handle, because you're thinking about, I want to make the family look good, but at the same time, I got to make my teammates look good. I got to make the team look good. I got to make the organization look good. And so all these things trickle along, but then you still have to be somewhat pleasing to the fans. And so I think once I got past that phase, I just was like, this is just too much. Like, this is who I am. You set me for who I am. If you don't, then that's what it is. Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that sports puts you in that position. I mean, you can learn so much from sports of how to deal with those type of things, but it's sports that's putting you in position that you have to face those realities.
I mean, I think everybody should have to go through sports. It just teaches you so many mechanics that you have to deal with throughout life, not just on the court, on the field, in the gym. It's just like daily lively skills that sports teaches you how to deal with outside of the sports area. And
so much.
I'm so grateful for that, because without sports, I don't think I'd be the person that I am today.
What about the times you're first getting out on the basketball court, though? You said it wasn't your first love, but what was it like just getting out there? I mean, did it all just come natural?
It did not come natural. I was a hot mess, to say at least. Very athletic, of course, but just mechanics-wise, I was just terrible. My job was to seriously get rebounds, outrun everybody, and make layups. That was my job.
That was it?
That was it. And once I got to high school, I had some really great high school coaches who, took their time out to, work on me with things. And once I got that down packed, and then my road ahead just was smooth.
Yeah, then it became natural for you.
It became natural for me. Once you learn, I won't say the proper mechanics, because I didn't learn that until about a couple of years ago. But once you learn the ins and outs of basketball and being a step or two ahead of your opponent, things just get so much easier. And so when you learn that, it's like in life, when this happened, how do you be counterproductive? And so once I learned those things of how to nitpick and get through certain situations, I was like, oh, this is going to be easy.
Yeah, well, obviously in life as well, once you have some experience and have confidence, it does make things easier.
A whole lot easier.
Because you're not as fearful about what the outcome might be, because it just does become natural.
Right, and you're not one-sided too. I think a lot of people think this is the only way you can get it done. I'm like, no, this is not the only way, but how can you get it done the best way that you can but still get the same result? And so I think once you get that dynamics of things, it's just it don't have to be your way, but I'm still getting it done. And so once you get past that point, things is way, way easier.
A little bit easier. What do you mean about you just learned some mechanics over the past couple of years?
So I'm probably the most unorthodox player there is in the league. I had this hitch and a twitch every time I shot. So it wasn't mechanic bend knees up with shot release. Mine was bend knees, stand up, flick, shoot. and so
yeah, but it was working for you.
It was working. It worked for me. I made my free throws. I made my jump shots. And so last year was my first year not going abroad. And my coach was like, look, we're going to spend time in the gym. This is the things that we're going to work on. And at first I was so excited. I was like, yeah, taking on new challenges. I'm ready for this. And then probably after a week in the gym, I'm like, this sucks.
I'm over it.
I was like, I'm over it. This sucks. I get frustrated. You know, I get emotional. I get teary-eyed. And coach just stopped being the coach right then and there. She was like, Sil, listen, breathe. Take your time.
Take it easy.
It's not that hard. It's just about your focus and about muscle memory. And she was like, I don't want you to be this hard on yourself. And so once I put those things into perspective and, you know, took a couple of breaths and stuff and calmed down, I'm like, okay, it does make it a lot easier. But you're so hard on yourself because everybody else is going to be hard on you. You forget about those things that comes natural if you just put the time in it and make sure you get that muscle memory down packed. And so once I got past that phase, things did become a little easier, of course, but at the same time, it also taught me that you don't have to be so hard on yourself. You can work smarter, not harder type thing. So
have you always been hard on yourself?
Always. Because
to what degree?
Because I'm such a competitor. Like I said, I'm the youngest of 5, so I always had to prove myself. Like, I can do it too. You know, I can do this just as good as you can. And so I think a lot of that triggered from that, of knowing that, yeah, I know I can do it. It might not be your way, but I still can get it done. And so I think a lot of that competitiveness as a kid, like being with older brothers, is like, you ain't going to outshine me type thing. So when I get to those points where I can't get over that hump, it's like, you know you can do it, but why isn't it working? Like at this point that you want it to work. And I'm like, well, you just got to keep working a little bit more, tweaking things a little bit here and there along the way, and then eventually happy for you. And that's exactly what happened throughout my career. I mean, it didn't all come in 1 second. When I first started in the league, I just was a defensive threat because that's all I was taught, just to play defense. And as the years came along and coaches wanted me to become an offensive threat, I'm just like, that's not part of my game. Like, that's not what I do. But just being comfortable to step into that role and making sure that it's pleasing for you, but at the same time, it's pleasing for everybody else.
Now, do you like the role now that you are considered an offensive player as well?
I do like the role that I'm considered as an offensive player, but it did took me some time to, like, get into that role because I'm just like, it's for the people out here. Why I got to go through me? Like, and so, and those are the things that coach was like, okay, yeah, but sometimes, like, still, like, you are the go-to player. Like, it's okay for you to feel that way. But me, on the other hand, I'm like, no, but it's us for the people out here. I don't want to feel that way. And so,
because you're going back to you want to please people.
Yeah, I went back to trying to please people, and then that too. I think I always want people to feel like they're involved. Mm-hmm. Like I said, more so because that's just the upbringing that I was brought around, like making sure everybody feel like they're involved. So I never want people to feel like they're left out. So I think a lot of that triggers from that too. Like, I'm like, yeah, I know I'm happy, but I got to make sure 1, 2, 3, 4 happy as well, because we all out there together. So if one person not happy, that throws off the chemistry, and so you just don't want that. So I just try to make sure everybody's happy.
How close is your family?
We're very close. Excuse me. We're very close. So I'm south of the city now. I'm like 45 minutes south of Miami. And once I moved, my sister and my mom moved. They was like, no, you're not getting away from us. So we all stay like 15 minutes apart. And my brothers, they all stay in the city. So they're close too. But every weekend we're at somebody's house. And so right before I came here, my brother's name was at my house. And boy, it was crazy.
What do you mean?
I wasn't ready.
You weren't ready?
Because I'm so used to being on my own at this point. And so I'm used to just being quiet and peaceful and moving when I'm ready to move. I ain't got to worry about no kids smacking me in my face in the middle of the night. And so having them there put me back into that perspective of, you've been by yourself too long. I wasn't ready.
You do get used to it.
I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. It was just too many kids, too much noise, and I was just like, I just want to meditate and please. But we're very close. So I talk to my mom 3 times a day.
3 times a day?
3 times a day. My sister probably 2, depending on how far in the week it is or when she's at work or not. My youngest brother, well, he older than me, but he's the youngest of the boys. He's right before me, and I are the youngest too. We talk, that's like my partner in crime. We talk on a daily basis as well. My older brother, we probably get a good talk in probably twice a week. He more of a, I'm going to go take care of my business type thing. But at the end of the day, I don't think.
Well, that's your support system, right?
That is my support system. But I don't think we go a week without not saying something to each other or without seeing each other. So that's pretty close to me.
I think that's very special. It
is special.
Yes,
it is special.
It is.
And I have a lot of nieces and nephews too, so that makes it very beautiful.
Yes, I would agree. Now, what about as you now make the transition, you're playing basketball, you start finding out that you're pretty good. When did it really come into the picture that, okay, I could actually do something far beyond just being a great high school basketball player?
Right. I want to say that came probably like my sophomore year in high school. I started getting a lot of like letters from colleges and stuff like that. And so it became a little stressful for me.
Yeah, what was that process like?
It was crazy. It was crazy. But even before.
When you say crazy, describe crazy.
Even before, I can say by the time I got to high school, I was getting recruited to go to middle school.
Oh, so to go to middle
school. I was getting recruited to go to middle school and high school. So that situation within itself was kind of stressful. My mom was like, look, this is the district we in. This is what school you're going to. And I was like, okay. So I think at a point she was starting to get a little agitated. But I got recruited to go to high schools too. And that situation was kind of crazy because Florida is a big like playground for like basketball.
Oh, of course. And so, like, I mean, some top athletes come out of Florida, basketball and football.
Right, yes. So during the time that I was in high school, we had probably like 4 good high schools that was like in my district. And so that process was just a little stressful for me and my parents. So my mom was just like, no, what school do you want to go to? Who do you want to play with? And I had a couple of girls that I grew up with that was at the high school that I was at. And I was like, this is who I want to play with for the next couple of years. And this is where I'm going. So, but college, that was like 10 steps crazier because you get to the point where they can start contacting you. You can start contacting them. They can start sending you stuff and stuff like that. And my mom just was like, can you please narrow this down because I am tired of getting stuff to the house every week. And I was like, yeah, I guess it's about that time for us, start putting things into perspective. And like I said, I had really good high school coaches who helped me along the way and helped me like figure some things out to get myself organized and straight. So
what were some of your top schools?
By the time I figured it out that where I wanted to be, LSU, Tennessee, and Florida State was my top 3 schools that I was interested in.
Why LSU then?
So at the time we had Sue Gunner, who was the head coach at LSU. And I think she was that first coach who came into my house and told me all the things that I didn't want to hear.
Like what?
So I had coaches came in and was like, oh, you could come to my school, you'll be a starter and this and this and this and that. And Coach Gunner was like, you're a good player. You can be great if you continue to work. You're not going to start unless you put in the work. And so those things like that. And like I said, I'm a competitor. I'm just like, all right, I'm going to prove to you that I'm about to start. I'm about to, So it was already embedded in me. And so she didn't tell me the things that she thought I wanted to hear. She just was bold-faced honest. And that's something that I always appreciated because that's something that I always have been around. Between my mother and my brothers, my sister, just being brutally honest. Like, yeah, you're good, but you ain't that good. Or, yeah, you can do it, but you can't do it that well. And so I think having that consistency throughout my life and her just filling in that blank, I was like, this is definitely the place where I'm going. I was like, this lady is not going to hand me anything. I'm going to have to work for everything. And that's something that I needed.
And that was okay for you to go earn it?
Yeah, that was okay for me to earn it because that's something that I've been doing all my life.
So how much are you motivated by proving people right that believed in you versus proving people wrong that told you couldn't do it?
I'm all about proving people wrong who told me that I couldn't do it. My support system is not like, yeah, Sil, you did a good job. My support system is like, you had a really good game, but we got film tomorrow, and these are the things we're gonna watch that you didn't do so good. So they give you that love and that support, but at the same time, they're not just cheering you on along the way. But I definitely was like, I'm gonna prove you that I can get it done. And so those people, I think they don't like me more that I proved them wrong because I came out and I did it. But at the end of the day, it's such a satisfying feeling for somebody to be like, you can't do it and you do it and they still don't like you. It's just like, you're never going to be happy.
Do you feel you're still doing that in your career today? Proving people wrong?
Yeah, I do. Because a lot of people feel like the older you get, the more you decline. Mine's kind of been the opposite way. The older I get, the more.
Yeah, you're like fine wine. You're getting better with age, right?
And it's so weird. It's so weird. I never thought I would be in this situation, but the older I got, the more successful I have been throughout my career. And I think a lot of that just sparks motivation of, oh, she's getting older, she's slowing down, she's a step slower, she's this, and that. And I'm just like, I'm none of those things. Like you try to put on me, so don't put me in those categories. And I just like proving people wrong and pissing people off at this point.
I love it. I love it because I kind of feel the same way that I have been motivated because people are like, oh, you can't do this, can't do that, and I'm like, okay, I'll show you. That's what builds the fire in me, and I love that feeling.
Yep, I do.
From that perspective. What was the transition like, high school to LSU? Because now, as the coach is saying, you're not top dog.
Yeah, you're not top dog. I think our coaches did a really good job in high school because they treated us like we was in college. So we had film, we had weights, we had 6 a.m.s, we had pre-practice, post-practice, and stuff like that. And so they kind of like steered us in the right direction, trying to get us ready. But it's still nothing like getting on campus, seeing all these people you haven't met before, going with the top of the top, the best of the best from every state. It was humbling, but at the end of the day, once you get a couple like pickup games in, you like.
Well, this is basketball, right?
Like,
I mean, you just feel comfortable.
Yeah, I felt right in. I was just like, you're not gonna beat me at anything. I'm just not letting you. You're not gonna outmuscle me. You're not gonna outrun me. You're not gonna just lay layups on me. So I think once I got into that mindset of that, I just wanted to be dominant, and the coaches seen it as well. They just was like, yeah, she's in the right place.
How much trash talking goes on in college versus in the WNBA?
College is definitely worse, I think.
Oh, it is?
Yes, it is definitely worse. And I was conservative in college. Like, I really didn't say much. If I just got to go out there and dominate, I go out there and dominate. But you get certain players who test your patience. And in college, I definitely got more trash talking.
Who were some of the players that pushed you to the edge?
I'm not gonna put them out like that, but it's been a couple of them. It's been a couple of players who just pissed me off, and then I just went off of like 20 in a row. I'm just like, shut up. But they get you going, and I'm pretty grateful for those players because without them pushing me to that limit, I don't think I would have knew like my heights to where I can reach.
Yeah, and again, it's that how sports puts you in those positions to push yourself, to be better. And even I admire that you're at a point in your career that you would actually go back and look at your mechanics and try to improve those because I'm a big believer that leaders continue to learn.
Yes.
And you can never stop learning. Right. So I admire that you've been able to do that. And again, that sports can put you in those positions. And
your mom, because my mom always say, be a sponge. She's like, don't always take. Make sure you're giving as well. And so I think just me going out there and willing to learn, no matter where level I'm on or no matter at what point I'm in my career, you always have to be a sponge. You always have to learn new things because those are the things that prolong your career. I mean, if you're not learning and you're not willing to do new things, then you're pretty much at a standstill.
Yes, you are. Well, obviously, if you talk to your mom 3 times a day, you're going to remember some stuff, right?
Yeah, she's crazy.
Does she still motivate you?
Mom definitely motivates me. From a different perspective now.
What do you mean?
Because growing up, she was very academic savvy. She didn't care 2 licks about what sport we played, how good we was at. She was like, if you ain't got your homework done, if you ain't passing tests, you ain't playing no game. And so I think she's now at the point where she can like be a mother because she see that we done graduated and did those things. So I think she can just sit back and enjoy the fruits of her labor, knowing that she pushed us to this point. But it's crazy because I'm back in school now. So, and this is my last year, and so she's very excited about that. I wanted to take off for a semester, and she was like, "No."
She's like, "No."
She's like, "You're not. This is your last year, and you're gonna stick it out, and that's what you're gonna do." I was like, "Well, all right."
All right, so I have to learn more about this because I have read a little bit about your desire after your playing career and what you want to do, which again, I think that's very admirable because a lot of people get so narrow focused that it's just the here and now and they don't think about the future until the future is upon them,
right.
and their playing career is over.
Right.
But being a mortician, why?
So it's something kind of started from early age. I was always interested in it. So I was always like that creepy kid who just wanted to see how everything processes and how everything works. Please forgive me, I was young at this age. I used to take snails and take off their shell just to see what's under it. Or I used to cut open lizards just to see what their organs look like. I was young. Don't judge me, okay? I was just a curious kid. Heavens, please forgive me. You know, I didn't mean that. But I was always that kid. I wanted to see how things work, how things function.
Yeah, you're just very curious.
Very curious as a kid. And my mom would tell you, I got into everything. I had to take things apart. And it just wasn't with like animals and critters and stuff like that. It was with, I'm going to take the TV apart. And I'm going to see, can I put it back together? And I had some downfalls, but I got beatings and stuff like that. But I was just that curious kid. And I think everything transpired once my grandmother passed away when I was 5. And my older siblings thought it was a good idea. Why? I don't know. Thought it was a good idea to give her a kiss before we take her to the burial. Once we get back in the limousine, head
say your goodbyes.
Yeah, say your goodbyes. Once we get in the limousine, head back to the burial, my face is just itching. Itching. Okay, I'm an allergy kid. I break out from everything. So I just was telling my mom, I was like, they didn't do it right. And she over there crying. I was like, Mom, they didn't do it right. She was like, what do you mean? I was like, my face itching. They didn't do it right. And when I get older, I'm going to do it right. And she just was like, yeah, okay, kid.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever, kid. And so I think 2014 is when I had my hip repair. And that was like a reality into like the sports world. I was like, this is not forever. I was like,
yeah, there will be
right.
a time where you're no longer
right.
going to play.
And so I was like, I shouldn't be having a hip repair at this age. I was like, I'm young. Like, what am I doing in like my early 20s?
Yeah, but you've been playing basketball
right.
a long time.
Exactly.
Though.
And that's what he said. Just wear and tear all the time. I was like, wear and tear? Like, I want kids. Like, I want to be able to walk straight and run at the park. And so I think in that moment, I was like, this crap is not forever. So I started taking classes, and then I stopped. And then I waited a whole 4 years before I started over. Now, you have to complete the program within 4 years. So once I started back, I had to start all over again because that 4-year cycle was up. And so I was frustrated, of course. I was like, I already took these freaking classes. I got to pay again. And so, but it put things into perspective. Like, you can't do stuff on your own time. And if you're really dedicated about it, just go ahead and stick it out. And so this is just at the point where I've been. I'm like, this is what I want to do. This is what I got to dedicate myself to. And so I've been making sacrifices. So during the season, I'm taking classes. I'm getting my hours in at funeral homes. And so
how are you managing your time?
I really don't have time to manage, if that makes any sense.
It does.
So practice and stuff everything is still the same. On off days, that's when I have time to like actually go try to get some time in at funeral homes. But during normal hours and normal practice days, like my night probably don't end till about 11 o'clock because you have to find time to get your studying in and get your homework done. So it was stressful but challenging at the same time.
It has to be.
Yeah.
And so how much longer do you have?
This is my last year.
Last year?
Yeah. So I can see the light at the end.
That's right. You're almost there.
I can see the light. And it has not been all good. Like a lot
what
of
do you
people,
mean?
Because a lot of people say, oh, you having such a good season and you haven't, you're doing your work and you multitasking and all this and this and that. But it haven't been easy. Studying haven't been easy. It's been classes that I done failed that I had to retake. And so I'm like, yeah, I look good. But to actually try to put things into perspective, it's hard. And so I think just getting that grit and understanding of, okay, you tried, but it just wasn't good enough. So next time when you take this class, just make sure you try a little bit harder. And so I think trial and error of you need more time to study than you actually need on the court.
You got to put the time in.
Yeah, you have to put the time in. And I think I took that for granted. Going into it, I'm like, yeah, I can get it done if I just cram this much into this. And then by the time at the end of the week, when you got to take a test, you're like, what did I just read? Like, I remember some in the middle, some at the end, but not so much at the beginning.
I have to reread it 3 times just to remember it.
And so I was like, this is not it's not productive. Like, I shouldn't have to read 3 times just to. So yeah, definitely just making sure you're being smarter of taking that time.
Now, are you more of a morning person or a night person in terms of like having to study? Can you study at night or in the morning, or does your schedule dictate when you are able to study?
My schedule do dictate when I study. I am a morning person per se to get up. I don't know if I necessarily want to study in the morning.
Yeah, well, nobody likes studying anyway.
Right. I'm not studying that afternoon because I get naps every day. If I don't get a nap, it's just...
I'm so jealous.
If I don't get a nap every day, it's just a bad situation for me. I'm just going to put it out there. So naps, I have to take naps. It's been easier for me at night, but I get tired like around 10 o'clock. So it's like, when do you have time to study?
That's why I can't read at night.
See?
Because I'll fall asleep.
See? So night has been good for me. I find it more productive when I don't take naps and I have to study, but then I'm just moody. So I'm like, you have to...
There's a balance there.
You have to find a balance. So I'm like, if I take a 45-minute nap and then get up and study, I'm more productive.
Then you're okay.
Yeah.
Now, have you enjoyed it, though, in terms of this thought that you wanted to do this, but as you're going through all of this, are you still finding that you have the passion that this is what you want to do?
Yes. I've been confirmed more now taking classes that this is something that I really want to do.
Even more so?
Even more so, yeah.
So a funeral director, is that your goal after this, or what is the end goal?
I don't necessarily say I want to be a funeral director, even though people think that's my strong suit because they think I deal well with people. I just think that's just a tough situation to be in when you at a tough moment in your life. So I want to be in the back.
Oh, you do behind the scenes?
I want to be behind the scenes. So I want to be more of prep room. So that's like the embalming, and then the cosmetic side, hair, makeup, and dress. And if I can do that, I think I'll be fruitful.
That's just amazing because you obviously don't run into many people that's what they feel that their passion in life would be, or that they would get a lot of fulfillment in life.
And it goes back to trying to please everybody and make everybody happy. That was my thing. Like, it's a tough time in somebody's life. How can I make them feel just a little bit better? And that's what a lot of that transpired from.
Of course. Are you still as curious today as you were as a young kid?
Yeah. Yeah, I am.
In what way?
But now my curiosity is just on different things. Or I think I'm stuck on more of like, what is afterlife, or what is life out there for other people or other things, since they're not considered humans. And so a lot of that stuff is what I speculate nowadays. Is there really a heaven? Where do we go when we die? Like stuff like that. Those are the things that I speculate more so on.
Yeah, and are you questioning God's involvement of heaven? Or are you questioning God? Are you questioning what the reality of heaven is?
I think more so of the reality. I believe there is a hierarchy, for sure. I just want to figure out how do we tap into that and what is it like, And so those are the things that I'm more curious about. But the question God, no, not really.
And what do you mean, not really?
Because, like I said, I believe there's a hierarchy. No doubt in my mind, I believe there's something. Something.
Yes.
However you want to put it. If it's God, is it Buddha, if it's Allah, if it's something's out there. Just trying to get a wide perspective of. First of all, let me just say, I don't believe God is a person. It can't be if we have humans, creatures, critters, and everything else. It's got to be something of every sort, if that's something that it made. So I'm just trying to figure out where do we go? Yeah. If we
all have these questions.
Yeah, if we're supposed to be eternal and everlasting life, where we go when we leave Earth? So those are my curiosity. Yeah. And how are other things allowed to come into Earth when we're not allowed to go? These are the things that I think about. I'll be talking to
How often are you thinking about this?
All the time with my friends. So when I talk to my friends, they be like, "Oh Lord, here we go again." I'm just like, "You guys don't think about this?" I'm like, "How can things come into Earth? What did we do wrong as a society, as a Earth, to allow things to come into us? Why can't we go into other things? We can land on other planets."
That's a fascinating question.
Yeah, we can land on other planets, but we can't get into planets. Like, how is that possible when other things can come to us?
And I do think there's an aspect of, is God this person that you mentioned, or is God just energy, some type of, what is the cosmos that has allowed creations? Because I look at all types of stuff in life and you're like, I mean, how was this created? How, more importantly, how are we created? From that perspective. And I do believe there's this God energy type of thing that had to be involved in the concept of creation.
I drive them crazy with this. They're like, "See, we don't know." I'm like, "But you guys don't think about these things? Like, how you don't think about these things?" So yeah, those are my daily topics with my friends. Like, I look at stuff and I'm like, "So I read this today. What do you think about this?" They're like, "Sil."
Here we go again.
I'm like, you guys have to think about it. We have to put things into perspective, because if we're not going to be here, it's going to be something else here after us. Like, everything repeats itself, regenerates itself. What are we going to be in the next lifetime? I don't know.
That's right. And that's why I even look at people talk about, climate change or global warming. And I even talk to other friends about it's hard to conceptualize some of these ideas, because we're looking at, say, 200 years of data that's been collected versus how many millions of years has Earth been around, or the universe? So who knows? This might be normal right now.
And I said, just how we look at like the dinosaurs and the caveman, that's like, oh man, that's how you was living? I said, the next thing that regenerates itself on Earth is going to be living. That's how they did things?
That's right.
I say, so
they're going to be laughing at us, right?
I was like, I need to know where I'm going next. Like, where all this stuff regenerates itself. It goes somewhere. Where it goes. Like, where am I going to be? And what am I going to be? So, those are the things I think about.
Well, I do think it's fascinating, because curiosity, it leads to enlightenment as well.
Yes.
I mean, you do have to question in life, and that's how you can also become better, is when you question. Again, going back to the learning. This goes back to learning. Now, you also, again, I know you've talked a lot about pleasing people, and that's been part of your nature to a certain degree. How difficult was it then when you're in the position in Chicago and you're wanting to be traded, and obviously a lot of people are looking at you probably in a negative light?
Yes. Well, it was a lot of good and bad.
Okay.
Good in the perspective that pretty much everybody was informed that I was leaving. I told my coaches, I told my teammates, I told the organization. Cool. They act like that it was cool from that time being, but then when it got time to like actually trade me, they made it such a big deal. First of all, I had fulfilled my contract. I wasn't under contract. You can't keep me there. So a lot of people was like, oh, she want to leave. She don't want to be here. I'm like,
yeah, she's a selfish player.
Yeah, she's a selfish player. I was like, still selfish? Yeah, right. I was like, that's the last thing that I am. But then you also get those people who watch me through the Chicago system when I first came in as a rookie, to how much time I put in, to how much, and when you're in a place where you're not winning, it's hard to be in that space. You're like, I put in so much time, so much dedication, so much work. I just want to win. And so a lot of my teammates understood that. I think a lot of them didn't till probably later in life, when they had to find themselves in similar situations. But at the end of the day, the fans was great. Like, I can go back to Chicago now and they just welcome me with open arms.
Did that surprise you then?
It didn't surprise me, because I had a good support system with the fans. Like, a lot of them told me that they weren't mad, that they just were sad that I wouldn't be in Chicago and stuff like that. So it's give take. So I think a lot of people was more happy for me than sad. But at the end of the day, you do get those ones who just not truly understanding of how the business works.
Speaking of business, how long did it take you to truly understand that it is a business, right? It's not just sports.
That point in time, because although I had made up my mind saying that I didn't want to be in Chicago, it was so hurtful, because these are the girls that I spent 7 years of my life with. Like,
so did you have a difficult time making that decision?
I did have I had a difficult time making that decision, and a lot of times I was like, just go back for one more year. And I'm like, no, not if you're unhappy. You don't go back for it. So it was like that good, bad, And so, yeah, bad was just like, don't worry about it. And good was like, it's okay. But if you really want to, and so I think once I got past that, and I do a lot of praying. Prayer got me through it. And I was just like, look, if I'm making the wrong decision, I'll be back in Chicago. I say, but if this the right decision that I'm making, show me my next move. And I stayed home and I trained. And I had no worries. Like, after that last deadline hit, I was I didn't feel like no load, no burden, no anything.
Nothing.
And that's how I knew I was making the right decision.
Okay, so you didn't feel pressure that I've got to, something's got to happen fast.
Yeah.
You didn't feel that.
Nope.
So would you have sat out the entire
I would have. If needed to, I would have, yeah. But I think they just had too much at stake. They couldn't have not a big end. And so it pretty much worked out in my favor.
Now, how did you find out that a deal had been reached and you were going to be traded?
My agent. So I think it was a possibility of 2 times it was happening. One time I was actually on vacation and I packed up and I was like, I got to go because I'm about to get traded.
Get out of town.
And it didn't happen. And so I was like disappointed. I felt like they was just pulling and tugging at me a little bit. And I was like, oh, okay. I see how this works. Like, they ain't truthful. They're not truthful. They don't say it. And so I was like, okay, maybe they just try to see if I'm going to budge. And then so once they seen that I wasn't budging, they was like, she's not coming back. And so then they just finally released me. And then my career just been booming since.
I would agree. It's amazing. And so was the main reason to leave Chicago is that you wanted to be in a winning organization or have the opportunity to win?
I did. I wanted to be where, I won't say that my teammates in Chicago didn't try hard. We tried. It just wasn't enough to get us to where we needed to be. And Minnesota was the perfect place for me because I played with Simone in college. I played with Maya, Lindsay through Team USA, and Rebecca Brunson was like the head honcho of freaking rebounds. And I was like, who wouldn't want a 4-player on their side who that's you just gonna go to battle with somebody every night? And so it was a no-brainer for me. And I was like, I know these girls, I played with these girls, and this is where I want to be. And so once I stuck my guns out and was like, I'm not going nowhere but to Minnesota, this is where I want to be. That's when everything pretty much just fell along.
So were there any other options, though, that you would have looked at?
That I would have looked at?
Yes.
No. But Chicago had other options that they wanted to send me. So they wanted to send me where they wanted to send me, and I just was like, no, you can't, because this is my right. And if you don't want to send me to where I want to be, then I just sit out for the year.
That's some discipline if you were willing to sit out for a year.
Yeah, it was. It's crazy. The hardest thing I probably ever did in my life, but it was worth it.
But look at it now.
It was worth it.
The reward.
And sometimes you have to stick out to your guns and
you do.
And believe what you believe in. And that was definitely one of my first hip hoorays, but at the same time very life-threatening situations.
Now, what about going overseas? Because I don't think people really understand what that entails.
No.
I've talked to Kelsey Plum, Tiffany Mitchell, and Alicia Gray in terms of going overseas. What is that really like?
I think you got to look at it from different perspectives. For a person like me, somebody would say it's easier because I make the best money and I'm in probably some of the best situations. At the end of the day, I hate being overseas. Like I said, I'm very family oriented. So being away from
that's a long way from family.
So being away from your family for, depending on where you at, 7 months out of the year? What? That's crazy. So my life when I was playing overseas, I seriously would spend a week at home after the WNBA season, a week at home before the WNBA season. So I spent 2 weeks at home out of the whole year. And yeah, it's the sacrifices that you have to make because you want to put yourself in a better situation as the years to come. But at the same time, that sacrifice, you miss out on a lot. Family time, graduations, birthdays, holidays. And that sucks when you're very family oriented. But at the end of the day, you're making that sacrifice. But it sucked for me.
Had to be.
I hated it. But at the end of the day, it gave me...
What were some of the biggest challenges? Other than missing your family,
other than
just
missing
outside
your
of that.
Just the language barrier, the food, and the lifestyle that the people live. It's just like, really, like, I'm not used to it. You know what I'm saying? So being able to break out of that comfort zone and trying to adjust to these people's lifestyle without looking like you're uppity or you're being bougie and stuff like that. It's just like, I shouldn't have to change my lifestyle because this is the way y'all live. Like, I should be able to still be me and do what y'all needed. And what y'all need me here for is to play games.
Yes.
And so, like I said, that was a process. Once I got to that phase, I was like, it's a business. I'm here because you planned me to play. Like, I don't want to have to deal with A, B, C, and D. Like, I want some good food. I want some nice, I want a nice hotel. Like, those are the basics. I want good food and a nice hotel. And so, but you don't find that everywhere you go. Now, if you're looking at it from a perspective where a player makes probably the same amount that they make in the WNBA, it's a little different for them. They probably like being in Israel because they say that's the closest thing to American lifestyle.
Closest to America.
Yeah. So they probably like being in Israel because they can get to go out and they can get to party and, you know, you still make the money that you probably making during the summer. But at the end of the day, is that enough cushion to give you that lifestyle that you want to live when you're done? So I guess you can see it from both perspectives. Because I met people that I know that they go, oh, I love going overseas. And I'm just like, you're a different breed. You're a different breed. But for me, it's not something that I enjoy.
Yeah. Now, have you been a partier? Are you the type of person that goes out?
I don't. And see, that's my thing. I'm like the party pooper. So I don't go out. I really don't hang out. Just never been part of my lifestyle. I rather sit in, read books, watch movies, do some homework.
It goes back to your curiosity. You want to learn, right?
Yeah. So I've never been a person that like enjoyed the nightlife or that lifestyle. And so I think that's a lot of reasons why I struggle too being overseas, because I don't want to go out and hang out. I just want, I want that me time. I want to catch family on the right time to make sure I'm catching my nieces before they go to school and stuff like that.
How's the competition over there?
Depending on where you at. When I was in Russia, competition was great. Turkey, the competition was great. China, not so much, but then it was the best playing place to go play. Mm-hmm. So it's give
it's
take.
Again, another balance,
it's
give and take in life, right? Now, when you come back from overseas, you talk about good food. What's your go-to then when you get back?
When I get back home, my go-to is definitely Mom's macaroni and cheese.
Oh, yes, that sounds great.
I don't care what you cook with it, but you just make sure you have me some macaroni and cheese, and then I'm fine.
What does she do so special about it?
I don't think it's anything special. It's just a certain taste, and it only tastes.
It's mom's food,
it just
right?
Tastes, you know how you like love a taste so much because you've been eating for so long. So when it's not the taste that you want to taste, it's just like, what is this? Like, I don't care. My sister cooked very well. My brothers cook very well. I'm not eating a macaroni and cheese unless it's my mom's macaroni and cheese.
Love it. Now, what about you? Are you a good cook?
I am a good cook. I can cook pretty much everything.
What's your favorite to cook then?
What's my favorite thing to cook? I definitely love stew. I love stew. So if I have to cook anything for myself, it probably would be stew.
That's your go-to?
That's my go-to, yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand that. How is it then in terms for you when you're looking at your career and again, knowing that you're also part of, though, a legacy, so to speak, in terms of what your generation is doing for the WNBA and women's basketball and, helping propel women's basketball to another level for the next generation. How does that feel?
Unbelievable. Only because we had women before us paved the way. But as you look forward, I think each generation get better in time, which is kind of scary. Because I look at these young ladies, because USA Basketball this year did a travel team. So we've been doing like college tours before we head off to go play in Europe. And going up against these young ladies, I'm like, they're quicker, they're faster, they jumping higher. I'm just like, man, like, where am I going to stand in this league if I try to be around? But just to see them in their athleticism and their knowledge of the game and how fast they're learning, I think this thing is just going to propel our league even further. And I think we're going to be around for another 20 years to see, because we just have so much talent out there.
I agree.
Yeah.
It is definitely almost at that tipping point. Obviously, with the recent CBA, that was
the CBA. That too. That gives these young ladies a lot of leverage, and I'm happy.
Yeah, there's probably still more work to do.
Oh no, it's definitely more work to do, but this is a
step.
start. It is a start, and so I'm happy that these girls will at some point be getting what they deserve. Yeah.
Who are some of the people that you mentioned paved the way that you looked up to?
You got your Lisa, your Tina. You have your Delisha, your Cappy Pondesters, your Katie Smiths, Lindsay Waitland. And so those ladies, they put in work. Your Asia Jones, your Swing Cash. And so they did a lot for us. Tamika Catchings coming into our league, because they was our idols coming into the league. I remember like my rookie year, these ladies fighting to try to get us better opportunities, Ruth Raleigh. And so to see them pave the way to where we at now, that's a big ordeal. Now you have your Nneka Agumacase who's out there putting in work for us because she's the president of our league. But just, I think this year trying to negotiate probably was one of the better years I've seen throughout my WNBA season, because this young generation has no filter and no care at all besides giving me what I want and what I deserve and what I'm worth. And to see that, I'm like, y'all gonna go a long way. Because they didn't budge.
Yeah,
these
and they're not afraid to step out.
No, because I remember when we went through negotiation a couple of years ago, my generation just was like, well, it's not going to change, and everything we asked for, they're not giving us, so who cares? And that's just how we was. But these girls was like, we ain't taking that. We deserve more than that. And just to see that, I'm just like, y'all some young rebels, and that's something that we needed throughout our league.
You definitely do.
Yeah.
And I see also, even like you mentioned, a Swin Cash, who's now, I mean, she's crossed the line into men's basketball, in a management position in the NBA. So it's just continuing to blossom, from that perspective.
Yeah.
And I know that has to make you feel
it makes us
really
feel great. But you think about these ladies who done been in the women's world for so long, and just to get a piece of what it's like to be in the men's world and also have a voice, that's pretty amazing.
It is.
That's pretty amazing.
How does it feel when you're playing some pickup games and there are some men and you can dominate?
First of all, it's good to always go up against guys, but those guys are very humble, and they understand like the work that we put in. It's the guys that has like men ego, who's not very comfortable with themselves, are always the ones who trying to test us. Like, oh, I can take you, or I bet you can't beat me. I'm like, you're probably right. I'm not beating a man. Let's be honest. And why you got to approach me like that? Why you just can't ask, am I a ball player? Who you play for? Stuff like that. I was like, why it's got to always be a male versus woman when that's not really reality?
That's right.
Yeah. So, but the guys who we go up against, like, very competitive. I get beat up a little bit, but some days I give them work.
I imagine you can. Because I remember when I was at Clemson, I remember like Sharon Wills that played at Clemson. I was like, my goodness. I mean, she's better than me.
Yeah.
I realized that pretty quickly.
But I think it's also a give take too, because the stuff that these guys bring is stuff that we don't get to see when we go up against girls. So to be able to have to deal with them, but also to take it to the next level when we have to play against each other, it makes it so much easier.
What has been more prideful for you, reaching the elite level in college, WNBA, or winning gold for USA?
I will have to say winning championship, because I never got to that level on the college level. So this is probably like as close to doing it. Although it feels great to have gold medals. But it's just something about being with your team and battling with your team year round, and to actually come up with a championship probably is one of my best moments.
Oh, it has to be, right? When you dunk.
Oh, Lord.
The first time
well, I was dunking when I was in 7th grade. So
Seventh grade?
7th grade. So it started off with a tennis ball, and then it upgraded to a volleyball, and then the men's ball. They would never let me dunk with a women's ball. And so I was like, I don't understand, like, why are you making me dunk? But it made it so much easier once I got into the game and started playing with a women's ball. It's like, oh, yeah, no problem. I was like, I see what you was doing, Coach. Now it makes sense. But yeah, I was dunking when I was in 7th grade.
7th grade.
But when I did it the first time in a game, I was so nervous because I used to do it throughout practice, but the coach was like, we're going to draw up a play. I was like, no, you just got to let it happen. And it was like, no.
Come natural, right?
I was like, now everybody looking at me. What have I missed? But we drew up a play, and it happened twice in one game. So I was very hyped. The crowd went crazy. And it just was a good feeling to know that these are some barriers that we're now breaking.
That's right.
And so I was happy about it. And now to see these young ladies now, I'm just like, they're not even 6 feet and you dunking? I was like, what? So they got so much talent that they...
Well, that's what you talk about. Yeah. The athleticism is so different. And I even look at just recent years in the NBA slam dunk competitions.
Right.
and they go back to looking at the 80s, because that was my generation of watching Michael Jordan and Dominique Wilkins and all of that. Yes. And when you see some of those dunks from Dominique and Michael Jordan, while, great dunks, they're mediocre compared to what they're doing with these guys now. I mean, it's amazing. So it's the same thing that's happening in the women's game.
It's the same thing that's happening. It's moving at a rapid pace, and I'm loving the movement that is going in.
Who are some of the guys that you looked up to in terms of NBA or basketball guys that you like?
So my go-to players was Shaq. He's my LSU alumni, of course. Him, and then I loved Amari Stoudemire.
Why is that?
Kevin Garnett. Because they just bigs who like finesse and just powerful and fearless. And those are the players who I try to model myself around. Just going out there and dominating every night, not really giving a hoop nanny about, and not taking it easy on your opponents. Because I don't never think Shaq took it easy because he was playing somebody that was not to his level, or Amari or KG. And then I love KG because he just trash talk. He don't care. He gonna tell you what he's gonna do, and if you can stop him, good job. If you can't, then sorry you. So.
Oh, he was the king of trash talking.
Yeah, he was the king of trash talking. I don't do much trash talking, but I do admire his game.
How much longer do you think you can play?
Right now I try not to put a time frame on it. I try to see how my body feels. So right now I got 2 years on my contract. So
you're just taking those increments.
I'm taking in increments, and I'll see how I'm feeling after 2021. And if I'm feeling good, I try to give it another go. I don't think it'd been another 2 years. I think I'd start doing 1 year increments by then. But I just want to go as my body go. I don't want to put time on it. If I'm feeling good, I want to play. If not, then I call it quits.
And coaching has never been something that you thought about doing?
I never really thought about coaching. But I don't think I have the patience for coaching. So I was like, no, probably not.
And what do you mean you don't have the patience?
Just because I think as talented as this generation is, I think they just a little more spicy than normal. Seeing some of these girls come out there, I'm just like, your attitude, baby, or your tongue, sometimes you're just going to have to scale back a little bit. And so I don't think I'm ready for that. I don't want you to have to give me lip. I'm like the old-fashioned coach, just like go out there
do your job.
Yeah, go out there and get it done the best way you can. Don't be disrespectful and all that thing. But yeah.
Yeah. So this generation coming up, they do trash talk a lot.
They do trash talk, and I don't think I'm ready. So I'm not gonna try to be a coach. Now, if it come back to me to be a coach, if the opportunity presents itself, maybe. But it's nothing that I ever thought about.
One thing that I do like is words of wisdom and just phrases, quotes, mottos, or just life advice. So has there been anything in your life that you've leaned on in terms of any types of words of wisdom? Yeah.
Just be the best you can be, because there's only one you.
Very well said.
Thank you.
I wish it was that easy, right?
It's not easy at all. It's not easy at all. But I think once you're content and happy with self, then all these quotes make sense.
Are you content in life?
I am content in life. I think I've done a lot of great things that I never thought that I would have done, things that I never imagined, because the only thing that I was thinking about is just going out there and work. And so just to see all these things aligned up for me the way that they have, is something that's way beyond my imagination, that I never even thought of. I never thought about becoming an Olympian. I never thought about becoming MVP of the league. I never thought about winning championships. The only thing that I thought about is putting in the work and going out there and having fun, and everything pretty much just led itself into those situations.
And sports gave you that opportunity.
And sports gave me all the opportunity to do those things.
Well, it obviously brought us together as well. So, Sylvia, I can't thank you enough
for so much.
letting me steal some of your time. Again, I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.